just the thought of seeking employment as a young individual in South Africa can be quite depressing. I mean, the stats have reflected that just under 36% of unemployment directly affects the youth. Now, the question is, what do we do about this? That's what we're going to be touching on today's episode. So to our viewers back at home, welcome to another exciting and brand new episode of Plumbing 101. Nedzina Langande Rendani Chibura, aka Randy, your number one MC. And before we get into the nitty-gritty of this episode, I think it's always great to update ourselves on what's happening around the world when it comes to plumbing. So we're going to go straight into the news, and after that, we'll get straight into the discussion. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Yes, man. It's always great to know what's happening all around the world of plumbing. So a big shout out to our news team. Now on today's episode, we're joined by two amazing guests, one in studio and one joining us virtually. Our first guest, ladies and gentlemen, is the Director of Learning at Blue Lever Education. Now, I know my English gets a bit intense here, so I'm going to try this one out, all right? She's also got a counseling psychologist with an MSc, Developmental Psychopathology, and an MA in Community-Based Counseling Psychology. I needed to take a breather for that one, you know? And she's worked in higher education for over 10 years. She goes by the name of Stacey Rontaris. Stacey, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I know today's episode was quite intense. Even before we started shooting, we've been having our engagements.
We have.
I'm looking forward to the engagement.
Me too.
All right. So joining us also virtually, ladies and gentlemen, and she's representing Harambee. Now, she is the sector lead for water and plumbing at Harambee Youth Employment Accelerator, if I got that right. There we go. Now, she became a thought leader after joining the South African BRICS Business Council Skills Development Work Group in 2015. And she's been bridging the gap to help the unemployed. Ladies and gentlemen, we're joined by Sherry Donaldson. Sherry, how are you?
I'm really good. Thank you so much for the invite and for the opportunity.
Looking forward to the engagement, and I think we might as well jump straight into it. I'll start with Stacey. Stacey, tell us a bit about your personal journey, as a director of learning.
Well, as you very nicely said it in the beginning, I am a counseling psychologist.
Yes.
And I've worked in the higher education space for over 10 years. So I think my work has always largely focused on finding potential in youth. And that's the thing that I'm most passionate about. I think youth in South Africa have a lot of potential. They have a lot of possibilities, but they don't always have the opportunities available to them, and they don't always have access to the resources that they need. So my passion is really focusing on empowering and upskilling youth so that they can achieve their potential, they can move into different careers, they can start contributing to the economy, they can work in industries and businesses. So my focus has really been on upskilling youth and empowering them in lots of different ways.
Come on. And I'm glad you brought the word youth in. Before I just bring Sherry in the conversation, all right?
Yeah.
It is Youth Month, and I know we always focus on the youth specifically in June, but it should be a continuous discussion, because it's the future. When we speak youth, we're speaking future. But what exactly in detail does your work entail?
So at Blue Lever Education, in my role as Director of Learning, I'm responsible for ensuring that all of our apprentices go through the apprenticeship program. They receive all the training that they need in order to write their trade test to become qualified artisans. But what we do at Blue Lever is a lot more than just the technical side of the training. Yeah. Our apprenticeship program includes a very big element on soft skills development as well. So for us, it's not just about ensuring we're producing artisans and good artisans, but it's about ensuring that we're producing great artisans who have all the skills that they need to be successful in businesses and contribute to the industry. So this can be things like communication skills, project management, entrepreneurial thinking. These are all the things that we cover as part of our apprenticeship program.
Come on.
So it's very different to a lot of the very traditional ways of training apprentices and producing artisans. But for us, we know youth need these skills, and we've seen that if we work towards building these skills in them, that's what we need to do to contribute towards our future.
Come on. I know that we've got two organizations represented here, and I want to bring Sherry in the mix of this discussion. All right. Now, Sherry, I know you represent Harambee, but I wanna know a bit about your role within Harambee.
Okay, so I'm part of what's called the ecosystem facilitation team, and really that team looks where there are opportunities for employment growth, but more importantly, where there are opportunities for inclusive employment growth. It doesn't really help the excluded young people of South Africa if that employment growth is all highly technical, highly skilled jobs that they're not going to be able to access. So we look for the combination, and then we look where we can partner in that industry or sector to see whether we can help facilitate some of the systems change that needs to happen in that sector to really take advantage of those opportunities. So in my specific role, working with the water and plumbing sector, we look at things like piloting of skills development programs. So we partner with Blue Lever, with our OPSA, with the NBI, National Business Initiative, on testing different training initiatives, different skilling initiatives to understand that impact of that. We also work on projects with our OPSA and PRB of how can we increase compliance for the sector, which will drive a need for more qualified plumbers, because it doesn't help if you train people, but there's no work for them. And then we also look at projects that can improve inclusion. So we talked about excluded young people, but also inclusion of young women in these programs. I mean, Stacey will know we've set quite an ambitious target with our pilot with Blue Lever of 50% female inclusion in that apprenticeship program, and they're making it happen, which is amazing as well.
Yeah, that's exciting to hear. That's exciting to hear. And I want to add on to this. I actually don't want us to romanticize this conversation, right? When we speak of youth and when we speak of unemployment, we have a critical issue in this country. And this is a question directed to both you. I think it's quite, Sherry and Stacey, I think it's quite critical that we delve into the real nitty-gritty, all right? When we talk about bridging the gap of unemployment, how does Harambee or perhaps Blue Lever play a role in this?
Well, shall we start with Harambee? Because that leads into, I think, the Blue Lever kind of work. So Harambee does quite a lot of stuff. I mean, we're 11 years old now, and we were founded originally to help bridge that gap for young people into the world of work. So we started running very specific work readiness training programs, and they were very specific to the organization. So, for example, if you were going to work in retail and you had to be standing for 8 hours a day, your bridging program was called a bridge because it was the bridge between the two. Your bridging program would require you to stand for 8 hours a day. If you were going to be answering calls, you would have to be like on a call for 8 hours a day kind of thing. And that then morphed into, it's changed over time, but it really has remained helping those young people access those opportunities has remained what we call our true north in Harambee. The work that we do has changed over those 11 years because of our need to really impact many more young people than we already have. You spoke about the challenges of youth unemployment, and we know the challenges are so big in South Africa. And a constantly growing challenge as well. I mean, that's not something that's decreasing over time. So really what we've looked at is how can we enable others to do what we do so that we can really scale our interventions and really do phenomenal work. So our bridging program, or what's called our Ready to Work or Close the Gap program, how can we enable others to run those programs and do that? So we would work with NBI, for example, in their work at TVETs, in their technical skills program, they implement a large part of our Ready to Work program, as an example. In addition, we have a platform called sayouth.mobi, and that's where young people can register to look for opportunities for jobs, for training, for information about how to get into the world of work, how to prepare CVs, how to prepare for interviews. And then we have what we call the partner network, where people with those opportunities, so a company that might have a learnership, Blue Lever that's got an apprenticeship opportunity, can load those opportunities on the partner network. So we're bringing the jobs to young people, or the opportunities to young people, and we're bringing young people to those partners that have those opportunities. And then we advocate for inclusion a lot. That's the other big thing we do. How can we change the mindset of people? A great example is with sayouth.mobi. Young people don't put CVs on there, but obviously a lot of employers ask for CVs all the time. So we're saying, well, that's a big cost to the young person. So how can we remove that cost? How can we get employers or HR practitioners to not need that CV, but to use the information, download that information and use it instead of a CV? The information is there, it's just in a different format. So how can we advocate, and how can we really change that system intervention and really make a big difference for the young person?
There we go. I'm so happy that you touched on that. Now, Stacey, I'm going to bring you in the conversation, but before we do that, I think because today's episode is full of information, it's full of information, and I don't want people to lose out on the value. But we're going to talk about the challenges that the students, as well as you as Blue Lever, face when working with young people. But before we get into that, we're going to take a quick ad break. We'll be right back. Make sure you do not move away from us. It's Plumbing 101. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Yes, man.
Advanced Valves is the only company capable of manufacturing a full range of Giza ancillary products in South Africa. We assemble over 2 million components to produce over 60,000 completed products every month. We pride ourselves on our quality, price, service and attitude, and this is what brings plumbers back time and time again. We'd like to thank all plumbers for their continued support of a proudly South African manufacturing business.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Plumbing 101. Today's episode is youth-based. It's all about bridging the gaps of unemployment and also speaking to critical organizations that play a fundamental role when it comes to the development of students. Now, before we went on to the ad break, Stacey, I did say we're going to speak about the challenges that some of the students face. And your organization, Blue Lever, what are these challenges and what are the common ones that pop up even after every generation goes away, because you work with different students?
So, I mean, we know that unemployment is a key challenge that a lot of our students do face, but it's certainly not the only challenge. I think we see we're witnessing, I think, a generation that is carrying a lot on its shoulders. We're seeing students who have a desire and dedication to really grow themselves and to improve themselves, their life, be in a position to be able to look after their families better. But this comes with a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility. And we see it on a daily basis at Blue Lever as well. Because things like that do impact the academics and you can't run away from that. So at Blue Lever, as part of our apprenticeship program, we offer our apprentices a lot of support. So we have, developmental one-on-one sessions with them. We run group support sessions with them. We focus a lot on mental health, on nutrition, on wellness. So for us, it's not just about the technical training, and it's also not just about the soft skills. We know that as youth, they have a lot on their plates. There are a lot of struggles in their lives, in their communities, in their families. And so we really try and tailor our support to make sure that every apprentice gets what they need, gets the coping mechanisms, gets the skills they need. Our youth are a lot more resilient sometimes than we give them credit for.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that the support shouldn't be there and the access to resources shouldn't be there. So it's hard being a youth, I think, in today's world.
It is. It's quite difficult. And you touched on mental health. You know, we hardly really talk about this, and I think it's quite critical. Let's look at the stats. When we talk about unemployment stats in South Africa, we're talking just under 36%. 36% of our population, which is quite, it's a depressing stat, It's not encouraging, even when you do participate and you do very well at your institution of learning. You still have the subconscious feeling of, am I going to get what I want to get? Is there space for me, in this economic sector for me to really be successful? And when you work with students, how do you guide them in that angle? Especially when it comes to morale and participation and giving their all in order to achieve and grow further in their careers.
It's very difficult because we know that there is a stereotype around a career in the trade space.
Yes.
We know that it's there's a misperception around it, and so it's very rare, I think, for somebody to leave school and feel like they want to be a plumber or they want to be an electrician. So we're trying to shift a lot of the narrative around this. What a career in the artisan industry looks like, so that we're unlocking, I suppose, passion in a way. So we're saying to youth, what is the thing that you really want to do? Are you good with your hands? If you're good with your hands, there's a really good career path here for you. It's not about a formal qualification of any kind, but you can go through a 3-year apprenticeship program. You can receive all the skills that you need and come out of it, open a business if that's what you decide to do, join a business. This is a career and a profession that has longevity in it, and it is needed in South Africa's economy. We know that. We will always need a plumber.
Yes.
We will.
It's the heartbeat of society.
It is.
Yeah.
No, it is.
Yeah.
But I think if you couple, the challenges or the perceptions around, a profession like a plumber, couple it with all the challenges youth are going through, motivation and morale is really, it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
It is hard. So we work on building a lot of our apprentices, I suppose, from the bottom up, if I can say it that way, through our support systems in place, through a lot of the skills training, a lot of the structure that we have. Our focus is to build them from the ground up and to keep pushing the morale. Don't want to romanticize it. It's not very easy. But it's it's part of it, and we know that if we keep working at it, we'll get to where we want to get.
Consistency is everything.
Exactly.
I want to take it back to Sherry. Sherry, just exactly what I asked Stacey right now. When it comes to the morale and young people seeking and finding opportunities of employment, it's critical to give advice to young people, especially in their quest for employment. What advice would you give from your position in Harambee to young people as to what tactics can they use to be the X factor, to stick out, to make sure that they don't compromise their position or opportunity of employment?
Lots of advice. Okay, so firstly, we wouldn't be Harambee if we weren't saying they must register on sayouth.mobi. That's the website or the site where young people will register. They'll look for opportunities. It's free for young people to use. It's data free across all of the networks. And that's really where young people can go and look for work opportunities, learning opportunities, and information. So I think that's the very first thing. The second thing is actually to log in often. Make sure that you're updating your profile on sayouth.mobi. Make sure that you're logging in. We have something which we call recommendations. So jobs will be recommended or opportunities will be recommended to you, but you can also search for opportunities as well. So log in, keep yourself engaged in the process, and then definitely keep updating us, because those recommendations will work based on whatever information you're updating with us with. I think also use the information on that site to help you prepare. So things like helping you prepare for interviews, helping you prepare your CV, put together that kind of information is critical. Using your time well as well to improve your skills. And there's a lot of stuff here. Again, you can volunteer at organizations in your community, churches, NGOs, schools, even maybe for a business for free, if that's going to help you. But anything that you can use to show willingness to work, readiness to work, to show how you're prepared to really push your own boundaries and make something of yourself, I think is really important. You can try hustling. There's a lot of information on sayouth.mobi about hustles. So one, just to help supplement your own income, but in between employment, how can you kind of help yourself and your family and help you give on the website or on Mobi site, there's a lot of ideas of how you can do that. Keep learning. There's so much opportunity for learning in South Africa. A lot of the mobile network platforms have data-free learning opportunities. Take advantage of those. Keep improving yourself. Harambee does something called Tinti, which is a Microsoft learning program. Build your skills. Keep yourself learning and growing all the time. And for me, just as an ex-employer, I think like your own knowledge as well. So it's not just about your technical skill, your reading of what's happening in business, your understanding of companies, your understanding of general knowledge, general events in the world, I think are really, really important. Because again, that shows that willingness that I'm open to learning. And I think that's something that young people really can show up with. And then a big thing for us, we see this a lot in the calls that come in, so a nervousness or uncomfortableness in speaking English. So I think the more you can practice as a young person, the more you can practice your English, read English, talk English, practice as much as you can, because it'll just make you stand out that little bit more when you get the opportunities for interviews. And then if you get those opportunities, then grab them, make the most of them, give them everything. And I mean, some of the barriers, things that Harambee really tries to make sure we do are, if you're going on training, that there's a stipend so that you can get to training, just for transport, nothing else, but just so that you can get there. So take advantage of those kind of things and really make the most of the opportunities that you get given. Because I think if you get given opportunities in the context of unemployment in South Africa, you're really kind of privileged in a way. And I think really take advantage of that.
Come on, I wouldn't have said it any better.
Yeah.
You know?
No.
Sherry's on a roll today, guys. That's so informative and it's valuable information. I know you touched on stipend and a lot of people go, yes, opportunity to get some petty cash. And I think it's more passion than just looking at the little small benefits that you could get. And I think it takes me back to Stacey, you know, what are the most important skills that, you know, students or apprentices should take when preparing for the professional world?
I mean, I think Sherry touched on quite a few of them, but I think a key one is a willingness to learn. Mm-hmm. It's having a curious mindset around the industry and around the profession, because I think if you have that, you will always learn and you will continue to grow. You will never stagnate. And if you have that kind of mindset, you will develop yourself, you know, on a professional level, but also on a personal level as well. I think the ability to self-reflect and look inwards is something that a lot of people and a lot of youth struggle with, but it's a really important skill to learn, because then you can look at any situation you find yourself in, reflect on how you responded or what you learned from the situation, what went well, what didn't go well, and learn how to improve going forward. So if you have that curious mindset about yourself, about the industry, about your profession, you can only keep growing from there.
Come on.
Can I add something as well?
Yes, Sherry.
I think if you, in that introspection, if you ask for feedback as well, you know, if you get given the opportunity, if you get the job or you don't get the job, or you get the learning opportunity, ask for the feedback. What did I do well? What didn't I do well, so that I can learn and can improve for next time?
Yeah.
I've heard this wise, and I like repeating it, you know. They say repetition is the secret to mastery, you know. The more you do it, the better you become it. And getting feedback can only make you better. But as we're about to wrap up the conversation, and I think this is where we can both, or you guys can both put input into this discussion, perception around trades. You mentioned it, you know, Stacey. There's this perception that plumbing or, you know, electrical work is not glamorous. You know, there's more. Everyone can't be a lawyer. Everyone can't be a doctor, you know, and trades are essential. They need. And people think that you're going to be broke in this industry, you know. They don't think that you can survive and you can grow. And because of limited knowledge, because of, if I'm a plumber or I'm in the plumbing industry, I'm just unblocking drains. They don't know that there's specifications and designations. And I think that's another contributing factor to the high level of unemployment, because there's an influx of young people going to the glamorous industries and career choices. And trades are never a first choice career. You know, what, in words of wisdom, let me rather put it that way, can we share with young people right now and make them understand that this career choice is as valuable as being a lawyer, as being a doctor, as being an accountant? Plumbing is essential. What message would you want to leave young people with? You want to start with Sherry?
I'll go first. It's fine. I think there's two messages. One is to the parents of those young people, because parents influence the choices that young people make in a big way. And as parents, we all want our children to have an easier life than we had. So I think there's a big perception that if I go to university and I get a degree, I'll kind of have a job forever and it's a white-collar office-based job. But that isn't real and true anymore. even if it was once upon a time. It's not real and true anymore. So if you're encouraging your children to go for careers and opportunities where they can create their own work going forward, you really are doing your child a great favor, or anyone, young people that you're interacting with, a great favor. And then I think it's really just about put in the work, and you can, I was chatting to my husband earlier this morning. Our next door neighbor is a plumber, and he must be in his mid-70s. And since I first met him, he's talked about retiring. I mean, he has a very comfortable lifestyle. He's got a holiday home. His house is paid off. He's got a holiday home that's paid off. He's brought up his children and has supported his kids and his grandkids through their transitions and their careers. But he's still working. There's still a need in his 70s for him to be working, and he still gets work, and he still gets people saying, hey, come and do work for me. You can have a fantastic lifestyle. You can be busy, you can be in demand, you can be learning, you can be growing. And I just think it's really a really cool option as a career.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Stacey, from your side?
So I was thinking we have a kind of saying at Blue Lever, with our artisans, with our apprentices, that we want to try and make the trades look sexy.
Yes,
that's how we say it, which means, we're trying to break the stigma and the perception around it. And we want to show people that it is an appealing, career. So I was with our current cohort of apprentices on Friday, and we were having a discussion around what does it mean to be an apprentice, and what is the identity around that. And a lot of them were sharing the fact that their families don't understand what a career it means. They want to know why they're learning about project management when they're training to be a plumber, with us. And our conversation, I think, was largely around the way forward needs to be education. It needs to be educating each other. It needs to be educating their families. It needs to be educating their communities on what a career as an artisan actually looks like. And so my advice would be curious. Come and see what it's all about. Do some research. Sherry spoke about there's a youth platform. So do some research. See what's out there. Be curious. Come and see for yourself. And if you find that it's a career for you, then we need to educate more and more people.
Come on. And you must have the interest.
Absolutely.
Have the interest. That cannot be sparked out of you. It comes from you. You need to take initiative as well. And this is a message to young people that are watching this. Yes, we have challenges that we face, but I think every circumstance is determined by how you respond to it.
Yeah.
That leads you to the overall outcome. And that's why today's episode is quite informative and it's exciting. You guys made me feel so youthful, man. I think to wrap it up in style, for young people that are watching this episode, how can they make contact with you? Which platforms can they engage you?
I can go first. With Blue Lever, if there's anybody who's interested in applying for our apprenticeship program and just wants more information, they can go to www.bluelever.com. And Blue Lever is spelled BLULEVER. All the information is on there about our apprenticeship program, the journey, what it looks like, what a career as an artisan will be like, and you can apply there for our apprenticeship programs.
Come on. Sherry from Harambee?
So you can contact us at Harambee, and there's various ways young people can contact us. We have an inbound call center line. We have a website. We're on Facebook, all the different social media platforms. But if a young person is really looking for opportunities, go to sayouth.mobi and sign up. There's a join button. Click on the join button, sign up. And then keep logging in, keep updating your details with us. And if they want to get hold of me personally, then just find me on social media as well under Sherry Donaldson.
I always say people never get their flowers while they can still smell them. So let's give you your flowers. You guys are doing a fantastic work. And I think without your contribution, we would be far beyond where we are right now. So thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. But we always say consistency is everything. Can we please do this again? And not just in June. All right? Not just in June. Let's keep this conversation flowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? To our viewers back at home, as I said, the words are indescribable. Today's episode, very informative. Yes, it's youth orientated, but I like what Sherry brought in. You know, to parents, it's so important that you also inform yourself around career opportunities. Change perception. Perception is a big killer for great opportunity. Stacey, Sherry, thank you so much for an awesome conversation. We definitely need to do this again.
Thanks so much for having us on show.
Thank you so much. And to our viewers back at home, remember to keep on subscribing to Plumbing 101. But to close it off, we're going to wrap it in style, going straight to the news. You gotta love it. Yes, man.